Princess Vexthera had made her displeasure abundantly clear. The political marriage between the Valerian Empire and the human colony of New Terra had been meant to solidify peace. Instead, it had produced a union that embarrassed her daily. Her husband, James, was soft, quiet. He read books instead of training in combat. He preferred diplomatic solutions to problems that required strength. On Valerian Prime, where physical prowess determined hierarchy, James ranked somewhere between a servant and a house pet in the eyes of the warrior caste. Vexthera's massive frame, nearly 8 feet tall, her scales a deep violet, her 4 arms capable of wielding weapons with lethal precision, had been designed by evolution for dominance. James, by comparison, looked like a child. Fragile, breakable, utterly disappointing. She had endured 3 years of this marriage with a grim acceptance of duty. But today, that acceptance would be tested. The assassination attempt came during the ceremonial games, that ancient Valerian tradition where champions prove their worth. Vexthera sat in the royal box when the blade came, not from an opponent in the arena, but from the stands. A disgraced warrior named Crax, seeking to regain honor through regicide, had hurled a poisoned spear directly at the princess's heart. James saw it first. He moved with a speed that shocked everyone. No hesitation, no calculation. Pure instinct born from 3 years of quietly studying Valerian combat techniques in the early mornings when his wife trained. He'd never told her. She'd never asked. He drew his blade, a human sword, shorter and less ornate than Valerian weapons, but perfectly balanced, and deflected the spear. The poison tip whistled past Vexthera's head by inches. But Crax wasn't finished. The disgraced warrior vaulted from the stands and descended on them with 3 other conspirators, their weapons gleaming. What happened next would be discussed in the halls of Valerian academies for generations. James didn't fight like a Valerian. He couldn't. His body lacked their strength, their reach, their natural armor. Instead, he fought like a human, with strategy, with precision, with an understanding of biomechanics that came from a species that had survived not through raw power, but through cleverness. He moved economically, never wasting motion. He used Crax's superior strength against him, redirecting force rather than matching it. When one conspirator tried to flank him, James pivoted, using the arena's architecture, a low wall, a stone pillar, to compress the fight into spaces where numbers didn't matter. Most remarkably, he protected Vexthera without ever asking for her help. He positioned himself as a shield, not because she needed one, but because in that moment he was claiming his role, her husband, her protector, her equal in the way that mattered most. It took less than 30 seconds. Crax and his conspirators lay on the arena floor, disarmed and broken but alive. The crowd had erupted into stunned silence, then chaos. James stood breathing hard, his human blood mixing with alien blood on his blade. And he looked at Vexthera with eyes that held no pride, no expectation of gratitude. He'd simply done what needed to be done. "Are you hurt?" he asked. For the first time in their marriage, Vexthera couldn't find words. This soft, quiet man who read philosophy and preferred negotiation had just outmaneuvered 4 trained warriors. Not through raw power, but through something she'd never truly valued, intelligence in motion. The warrior caste erupted into debate. Some demanded explanations. Others called it luck. But the elders, the oldest Valorians, those who'd survived the most brutal wars, said nothing. They simply watched James with new eyes. That evening, Vexthera found her husband in their chambers, tending to his wounds. She watched him work for a moment before speaking. "I was wrong about you," she said simply. James looked up, surprised. "I'm still the same person you've always found disappointing." "No," Vexthera said, and for the first time, she smiled. Not the diplomatic smile she wore for state functions, but something genuine. "You were always this person. I simply didn't understand what strength looks like when it doesn't announce itself. On Valerian Prime, we equate power with noise, with dominance, with the immediate assertion of force." She sat beside him, her massive frame somehow seeming smaller in that moment. "But you were patient. You studied us. You learned our ways not to conquer, but to protect. That's a kind of strength we've forgotten how to recognize. James reached out, and she took his hand with one of her forearms. In human philosophy, there's a concept: the strongest steel is folded many times. It's tempered not through raw heat, but through repeated challenges and refinement. That's what I've been trying to be, strong enough to stand beside you as an equal, not as a possession. Vextheral looked at their joined hands, his small and fragile compared to hers, yet steady and sure. Then let us both be strong together, she said. And perhaps the Valerian Empire will finally learn what it means to be truly mighty.